What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to MKE MANIACITV, and today we got 10 things you didn't know about WWE SummerSlam from What Culture Wrestling, man. This Saturday, your boy will be in attendance at SummerSlam, man. This will be my first ever pay-per-view going to. I've been to a lot of Raws and a lot of SmackDowns, but never pay-per-view, man. So, hey, if you see me there, say what's up, man. I got 2 vlogs coming for y'all this weekend, going to the SummerSlam Superstore, as well as, you know, the SummerSlam event. So we gonna check this video out, man. Like I said, we dropping a video every day here on the channel. Y'all new to it, hit that subscribe button. Let's not do no more talking. Let's get it.
Time for the hottest event of the summer, also known as SummerSlam. When you break it down, WWE show names are very silly. Given that we may be getting one of the biggest shows ever come August, though, I, Simon Miller, here at What Culture, decided you should know 10 things you didn't know about the event. I totally screwed it up. Number 10, the amount of people who have attended. So you can't argue it now, SummerSlam has become a beast. It sells out stadiums, and as of me talking, it's going to do around 50,000 tickets for the 2023 version. That's amazing. If we look at the previous 35 iterations between 1988 and 2002, though, do you want to know what we're up to? 735,997 people have gone to see it live. Wow. It's definitely going to increase like mad, as WWE is simply going to be running bigger buildings, but even then, getting almost 1 million individuals to SummerSlam over the years is quite the stat. I think there may be something to this. The best part is we didn't include the 2020 premium live event, because why bother? Humans didn't exist then. Without that, it would be even further ahead.
Like, this is crazy. It's like the seats that we got, the seats I got, it's like, okay, so the ramp is right here. I'm more so over on this way, but it's gonna be like in this area, because I'm not on the floor. I didn't want to get floor seats, but I'll be like row 6 in like the first, it's like the corner, row 6. So yeah, like this, oh man, like this just gets me excited, man. But you know, SummerSlam, like what was it, SummerSlam 1992, they were overseas. That definitely accumulated for a lot of fans too.
Number 9, the original plan for 1988. Whether you want to believe it or not, plans change. Vince McMahon especially can never make up his mind. And this was true even way back during SummerSlam number 1. When all was said and done, we did get the Mega Powers versus Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase, which was pretty cool. But the Macho Man Randy Savage almost took on Ric Flair. Yep. Now today that doesn't sound so shocking, but at the time the Nature Boy was absolutely wrapped up with the NWA. But as he had some struggles on that side of the fence, there were some conversations about making the jump. And at the last moment, Flair decided this was a bad idea and he didn't do it. Given that this would have meant Rick making his WWF debut in Madison Square Garden, it would have been quite the moment. Yeah. And let's just put it into modern perspective. Imagine Roman Reigns went to AEW and arrived in Jacksonville for Double or Nothing. The internet is not ready for that.
Yeah, that would have been crazy at that time. I never knew that, but at that time that would have been crazy, and that's a good comparison, just to put it in modern perspective.
And it's never going to happen. Number 8, that 2004 dodgeball disaster that upset everyone. Do you want to know why women were done with WWE after a while? Because at the 2004 SummerSlam, they were booked to play a game of dodgeball. Can you imagine?
No, but look at it though. Okay, all right, let's look at it like this. Christy Hemme was in this. George, okay, there was, all due respectfully, women's division now compared to back then, 2 completely different divisions. Trish Stratus, let's see, Jazz was a beast, Victoria was a beast, Molly was a beast. Like I said, Trish, Christy Hemme, a lot of them were just like models. But Gail Kim was there as well. But it's like, this was bad. Best believe having your women's champion in a dodgeball game at SummerSlam is crazy disrespectful. But they've definitely done worse than this. But this is definitely top 3.
Imagine it was between the Divas and the Diva Search contestants, which made it even more silly. Yeah. And to wrap it up, it was a waste of time. Yeah. It didn't serve anybody. Surprise, surprise, when all was said and done, people backstage weren't happy either, but not for the reasons you're expecting. Because the contracted employees lost to these reality show hopefuls, they got taken to Wrestler's Court, for goodness sake. And if you don't know, Wrestler's Court is where members of the roster make up ridiculous charges such as this, and then try people behind the scenes. And here, the feeling was this made the WWE look bad. Trust me, that ain't the reason. It's the fact that we chose to do this rather than, you know, a wrestling match. The long and the short of it is that nobody cared about it because it was a game of dodgeball and we wanted to see some grappling on SummerSlam 2. The good news is I doubt they'd ever do this again. The backlash would be unreal. Number 7. Shane McMahon's 2000 safety speech. SummerSlam 2000 is a historic event for 3 reasons. You had the now famous TLC match, the horrible concussion Kurt Angle suffered in the main event which gets discussed constantly these days, and Shane McMahon. Yep, he gets a category all of his own. I'm sure you've seen it by now, and if not, Google it, but Shane-O climbs the side of the Titantron when opponent Steve Blackman follows him up there, smacks him with a kendo stick as McMahon falls for what feels like miles. It is as scary now as it was then. The real kicker, though, is that Shane subbed in for Daddy Vince when talking to Edge, Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardy Boys about being safe in their tables, ladders, and chairs match. And then he went and did this. That's like telling your friends no alcohol, and then you literally become a bottle of beer. I suppose this was orders from above with Shane being told he had to relay them, but it was so short-sighted. Even if McMahon hadn't have taken this fall, he'd already been mad for ages, you would still roll your eyes at this guy talking about being safe. I mean, he was a proven maniac. Number 6.
Fact. Shane McMahon, I feel like people just don't understand. A lot of fans, like, I mean, Shane could do some crazy things still. You saw what he did at WrestleMania 32, but no, Shane was a maniac back then, man. I remember being a kid, bro. I loved watching Shane. Whenever Shane wrestled, I loved watching it because you always knew something crazy was gonna happen.
Cited. Even if McMahon hadn't have taken this fall, he'd already been mad for ages, you would still roll your eyes at this guy talking about being safe. I mean, he was a proven maniac. Number 6, Kurt Angle learns to bleed. Think of this. When Kurt Angle faced Stone Cold Steve Austin in the SummerSlam 2001 main event, he'd only been wrestling full-time for 2 years. Don't come in here and tell me he's not one of the best. He is. This did come with some issues, though, especially with the dark side of wrestling and blade.
And to put that in perspective, that's like Braun Breaker starting from, you know, from beginning of NXT 2.0 to now.
So when it was time for Kurt to cut his head, he couldn't do it. There's nothing untoward here. It was just an experienced dude not really knowing what to do. Austin, who was a super veteran, soon realized, so he just grabbed the blade and did it himself, which Angle has chatted about on his podcast.
Wow.
The Rattlesnake was so panicked to get it done, he made Kurt bleed like a fountain. The Olympic gold medalist has also said this was like learning on the job because he never fell into this hole again.
That's crazy.
And he was happy with that too. Even after the match was done, the wound would not stop pouring the red stuff. I mean, that's a big whoops. Number 5, Edge's wild SummerSlam 2008 pitch. Today, Edge will be the first to admit that the risks he took forced his early retirement in 2011. His neck just couldn't take it. In 2008, he hadn't arrived at this conclusion, however, and when tasked with facing The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell, his brain instantly thought of 1998 and Mick Foley. As everybody did, I suppose. Because all wrestlers have to try and one-up each other, he found the dead man and actually pitched this idea. What if you tombstone me on top of the cell? Yep. Backstage officials instantly said no because a decade prior the roof had given way, almost killing mankind.
Yeah.
And while the thing had been reinforced, if this happened again, forget about it, the rated R superstar would die. That bump is a killer, literally. Instead, we went kind of safe and Edge took a chokeslam off a ladder with the ring collapsing in on itself on impact. Never forget when WWE does this too, they state the recipient has been thrown into hell. There you go, hell is just the space under the squared circle. Who knew? Number 4, Hulk Hogan holds a unique record. So I don't think anybody is going to be able to top this. And why? Because Hulk Hogan went a ridiculous long time between SummerSlams. Watch. In 1991, he headlined the pay-per-view in what can only be described as an interesting match, and he didn't have another appearance in the summer event until 2005. That is a...
Really? I never thought about it like that. It's like you think of Hulk Hogan, you think of, okay, I mean, the mid to late 90s he was WCW, but that's weird. Like
14-year gap? Ridiculous. He main evented that one too, which was a nice tie-in. Why he didn't pop up in 2003 and 2004, I don't know. Well, it's
Mr. America.
It's likely because whatever was pitched didn't work for him, brother, but let's not worry about it. We all do recall this match too, because it was the infamous encounter where he took on Shawn Michaels. Given that Hogan pulled a fast one last minute and refused to do a rematch so he wouldn't have to lose, the Heartbreak Kid decided to oversell all of Hulk's offense. It's part hilarious and part totally unprofessional, although let's be honest about it, Hulk Hogan did start it, and also if you've never seen this, make sure you change that today. Number 3, Shawn Michaels' return was almost very different. 3 years prior to this too is when HBK made his comeback to WWE, and it rocked. Nobody thought Michaels was ever going to return following a back injury, and yet in 2002, him and best friend Triple H put on a classic. It is worth watching. When plans for the comeback were first put on the table though, this was very different. Weapons, bells, and whistles would still be involved, but the opponent would be Vincent Kennedy McMahon. That's right. It was actually Vince himself who thought a match against the game would be far better all around. He was correct. McMahon fights do have a certain beauty to them, but they're also train wrecks. Yeah. Not something you want to do when a dude is coming back from retirement. Yeah. The boss still liked the idea, so shelved it until WrestleMania 22 rolled around. And do you want to know why Shawn favored it originally? Because expectations would be so much lower, whereas against Triple H, he would have to bring it. Turned out there was nothing to worry about though. Did they both smash this?
Vince just wanted to whoop Shawn's ass. He was like, everything you put me through in the 90s, I just want to,
But 2, an interesting WWE title stat. If we were to all sit down and discuss it, I think most people would agree the WWE title has been the top prize in wrestling for a while. I mean, they've been the biggest company for decades, so it stands to reason. If you win that thing, you've done pretty good. This is why the following stat is mad, because it has only headlined 4 SummerSlams of the last 15 events. So basically since 2008, this championship has only been defended last a handful of times. That's crazy. These were CM Punk versus John Cena in 2011, Daniel Bryan versus John Cena in 2013, Cena versus Brock Lesnar in 2014, and of course Roman Reigns versus Brock in 2022. That's it though, no more, done. This is mostly because the newer Universal belt took over, and as Roman and Lesnar have also dominated the latter years with that championship, well, it all ties in. Some may say this underlines that we have too many titles these days. That's another video for another time. It's also correct. Number 1, it almost opened the forbidden door. Apparently. You always have to throw an apparently in there. But if we go to 2018, 1 year prior to AEW's first Double or Nothing pay-per-view, Chris Jericho went to WWE higher-ups with a pitch. As he was now the New Japan Intercontinental Champion, why doesn't he return to the company and challenge none other than Seth Rollins, who was the WWE Intercontinental Champion at the time? Let's face it, this would have ruled. It also would have been the perfect way to do it, because while an IWGP belt would be on a WWE show, this was Chris Jericho, a man who was synonymous with Vince McMahon's company. Naturally, Vince heard this and thought it was pointless and booked Dolph Ziggler versus Rollins instead, which was actually very good. But as for Chris, he wasn't even included. No wonder the All Elite Wrestling gig seems so appealing. If it had gone down, the Forbidden Door would have been open before we even called it that. But here's the truth. I don't think it'll ever happen with WWE because they don't need it. As I've told you before, my mum calls wrestling that WWE stuff, so they've won, they're ahead, and they don't want to bring anybody else along with them.
Facts.
Know of any other fun SummerSlams?
That's what I'm trying to, like, I know as wrestling fans it'd be cool to, Kenny Omega versus Roman, or, this versus that, Seth versus, Ospreay, but the thing is, as cool as it would be, WWE doesn't need to do it. They are gonna sell millions of tickets, have millions of views, sell a ton of merchandise. Almost died. Look, let me cook though. They are gonna do all of that. And they don't need to work with another wrestling company. They are the wrestling company. Like, respectfully to AEW and TNA and New Japan, bro, nobody's touching the WWE right now. They know, WWE fanboy. Bro, I'm a wrestling fan at the end of the day. Do I watch WWE more? Yeah. It's because of my schedule. And I do want to start watching AEW. Definitely. I think hearing a lot of good things about them, but WWE does not need AEW. They don't need them to, let's do it for Forbidden Door. As cool as it would be, if anything, it's only going to benefit AEW. It's not going to benefit the WWE. And at the end of the day, WWE is all about business. They're all about what they've been able to do. They're not going to help another company. They're just not. They didn't. If they couldn't do it with Prime TNA, why the hell would they do it with AEW? And honestly, Prime TNA, man, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, when Kurt Angle went over there, Main Event Mafia, all that, man, like, it was money. Like, they could have easily, tapped into that side. But, let me just chill. 10 things you didn't know about WWE SummerSlam. Link down below in the description for y'all to check it out in its entirety with no interruptions. Y'all new to the channel, y'all rock with me. Hit that subscribe button for me. And until the next video, I'll see y'all then. Thank you for watching MKE Maniaci.